Welcome to all for this NIMI video session. Today's lesson is lesson number 6.3, Evaluation of Theory and Practical Test, Krikpatrick Evaluation Model. In this lesson, you are going to learn about the distinction between the test, assessment, evaluation and validation. Then importance of the analysis of test result. Then how to evaluate theory test and practical test. Then Krikpatrick evaluation model you are going to learn. These are the objectives of this lesson. Already in lesson number 6.2, already you might have learned about the test and other characteristics of test, everything. So even though what is test? Test is a tool to measure the skill and knowledge of the learners, what he has learned or what he has been taught. Then what is assessment? Assessment is the process of documenting knowledge, skills, attributes and beliefs which is measurable term. The goal of assessment is to make improvements in educational content. Assessment is the process of describing, collecting, recording, scoring and interpreting and information about learning. This is the main difference between evaluation and assessment. Evaluation is the judgment, making judgment. That is the main key points. Assessment and evaluation. Then validation. The term validation and evaluation are important. When designing training, validation is an essential feature and it will be your responsibility to include appropriate validation measures. But it is often done by management. Validation can be further classified into two, that is internal validation and external validation. In internal validation, a series of tests of assessment designed to ascertain whether the training program has been achieved in correct way. External validation is, it is also a series of tests and assessment whether the internal validation has been achieved or not. This is the main difference between internal and external validation. Next, we will see about what are the importance of analysis of test result. What are the purpose of the analysis of test result? We will see one by one. You know, any training program is not completed without test. Then for conducting test, suppose if the teacher will take question or design question and conduct the test, but he does not evaluate correctly, it is not meaningful. So it is important to evaluate in systematic way. If he conducts the test, he must evaluate in correct way. Then this is very necessary to test the systematically, not easy anyway. He has to follow some systematic approach. Then it is the achievement of the students can be measured. What the students have achieved from the learning also can be measured by evaluation. Then success and failure of training also can be measured. Suppose after the analysis of the result, the teacher can know whether what he has taught is correctly followed or not, whether it is success or failure also he can measure. And it shows the feedback of both the trainer and the trainees. Then both can be improved. What are the drawbacks in their training program also? These are the main points or main points of importance of analysis of test result. After evaluating the test paper, it is very much necessary to analyze the result of the test, because it helps the teacher to inform the students about their progress and improvement. Also it helps to decide what action to be taken to bring all the students in a class for the required standard. That means after analyzing the test result only, the teacher and trainee can know what are the improvements to be taken and what are the actions to be taken to bring all the students in the class to the standard level, required standard level. And also it helps the student to know their drawbacks so that he can improve. These are the some points of importance of analyzing of the test result. Then we will see what are the information can be obtained from the analyzing of test result. By analyzing the result, he can get the information about what are the questions too difficult to answer or to test. It can be identified by analyzing the result. And if all the students, suppose if all the student gets high marks or scores high marks in all subjects, that means question is very easy. So it is not correct. Though all the levels of students, the question will satisfy. So we can change the question. Then if most of the students did not answer any question, means that question may be asked in out of syllabus or not taught well. This is also one main information the teacher can get. From this he can correct it. Then after evaluating test result, classification of student can be easily done. That means we can give according to their performance, according to the result, we can give ranks. These are some information after analyzing the test result teacher can collect. Next we will see how the theory test can be evaluated. That is evaluation method of theory test. Theory test consists of number of objective type question and few subjective question. But in nowadays, in presently, our all India test, theory test has got only objective type question. Previously, some few subjective type questions were asked. There are two types of evaluation. One is formative type evaluation, that is internal evaluation. Next type is summative evaluation, as in formative and summative test. This is external evaluation. What is formative type evaluation? Formative evaluations are basically done during the development of the performance or during the development of the course, learning process, we can say. Its main purpose is to achieve the proper learning process and fill up the deficiency of the learning process. That means from this formative type evaluation, each and every stage by stage of the learning process will be evaluated. Then only stage by stage they can know what are the drawbacks, what are the deficiency of the achievement of the performance. Then they can fill up the deficiency. Then it is also allow the learner to master the required skills and knowledge. Suppose if he knows what are the drawback in previous stage or previous learning, he can correct in next stage. That is also can be in formative test, he can correct it. Then it is useful in analyzing learners or learning activities. It is useful to analyze the learning activities achieved by the students and teacher effectiveness. Suppose if teaching is not effective, then we can correct it in the formative evaluation. Suppose without formative evaluation, if he does the directly summative evaluation, in the stage what are the drawbacks, what are the deficiency of learning, they may not know. Then we will go for summative evaluation. This is external evaluation. This is done at the end of the course. It will guide the teacher as well as the trainee how they have performed in the whole learning process. It involves making judgment about the efficiency of the program also. From this training program or any course, whether the course was successfully completed or not also, from this summative evaluation they can know. Now we will see about the features of the practical test. While evaluating trainees' performance abilities, the instructor have to take into account not only the final product but also the method of performance and other attributes. That means when evaluating the practical test, not like the theory test, when evaluating the practical test, the instructor he should not only consider the final product, he has to consider other features, attributes and housekeeping, safety, these all the things he has to consider while evaluating. It means the instructor have to make both objective and subjective assessment while evaluating the trainees' jobs. That means only from the final product, without evaluating when he is performing, with only final product he has evaluated, it is not correct method of evaluating the practical test. Stage by stage, what method he is adopting and what are the safety precautions and housekeeping and other attitudes what he has observed also to be considered while evaluating the practical test. The practical test consists of different features which are similar to the theory test item. The performance test features are abilities to handle tools and equipment. That is one skill. How? That is ability to handle the tools with the correct method and also with the safety precaution. That is also to be considered for evaluation. This is also one of the features of the practical test. Then selection and economical use of material. Yes, he has to select for proper job for proper tool. He has to select proper tool for performing proper operation or jobs and in economical way. And the ability to read the drawings. That means he must be able to read the drawing and interpret the contents or interpret the what are the things in the drawings also he has to interpret. Then only he can perform the job easily. Observing safety and work habits. Then speed of work, that is time is also important for performing the job. Then accuracy, he has to do the job with all dimensions, with the given dimension only, with the accuracy also. Then quality of workmanship, that is appearance should be, that is workmanship should be a quality one. Then correct sequence of performance, yes, he has to perform the job in sequence of handling or following the correct sequence of the operations. That neatness of workmanship, that job should be a neatly he has to finish the job. Then after finishing or after completing the exercise, practical exercise, he has to housekeeping he has to adopt. That means what are the materials he has brought and what are the wastage and what are the tools, he has to take up the tools and he has to keep in the correct place. That is also he has to do. These are the some features about the practical test. Then in the case of features, the other attributes, the range of performance has to be judged and recorded as they involve subjective measurement. Method of evaluating the practical test. That is the main difference between the method of evaluating the practical exercise and the practical test. Keeping in view the requirements of performance skills independently on the job. for this practical exercise, we have to follow some criteria. In 3 criteria we have to follow. That is, one is aptitude feature, objective features and subjective features. In aptitude features, that is only for 20 marks. For aptitude features, we have allotted the mark, for suppose for the practical exercise, if it is 100 marks, for aptitude feature, marks is allotted for 20. That means he has to observe safety, housekeeping and cooperation of job. Like this he has to adopt for this 20 marks. Then objective features, for these objective features 30 marks is allotted. Under these objective features, tools and material requirement and drawing of the job and what are the procedure to be followed, for this we have allotted 30 marks. Last criteria is subjective features. That is, in subjective features is the quality of product. That is how they have made the product with the dimension, with the correct dimension and other operations and finishing the workmanship. This is allotted for this feature, mark is allotted for 50. So this is the some criteria we have to follow in practical exercise. For practical test, they are given in the question paper previously 300 marks allotted. Practical exercise is 100 marks, but for practical test they are allotted 300 marks. So it may consist more than 1 or 2 or 3 questions. And now current recently they changed the mark for practical test. Instead of 300 they reduced 250. For the 250 only we have to evaluate the marks for practical test. Now we will see about the method of evaluating each criteria, that is aptitude features, objective features and subjective features. First, in aptitude features, what are the criteria we have to follow? It is the ability of planning performance in order to accomplish the job as required. Then the ability to organize can be tested by asking the trainee to write the procedure for accomplishing a work, name of tools, equipment and materials required for the same. Then some calculation also involved under this feature. In the aptitude feature means what is the job to be done, performed by the trainee. For that performing of job, he has to write procedure and what are the tools and equipments and materials required, he has to write. This comes under the aptitude feature. Next, objective features, that is method of doing work. In which method he is doing this performance means. Under this feature, interpreting the schematic of actual connection, selection of tools for specific application, correct use of tool, economic use of material, and following the essential steps in skill performance, housekeeping, observation of safety. These are to be considered or to be observed while doing the work. It comes under the objective feature, that is method of doing work. Then last criteria is quality of product, otherwise we can call it as a subjective feature. Under this criteria, some aspects we have to be assessed. That is dimensional feature, functionality, correct connection, movement and manipulation. Other features of the job which need subjective judgment. That means he has to measure the job in with the correct dimension. Then suppose if it is electrical, that is functionally procedure, he has to connect correct method. That is, suppose if he has to connect ammeter or voltmeter, he has to connect the ammeter in series, the voltmeter in parallel. Like this connection, correct connection he has to give. Then movement of manipulation. While doing the job, what are the stages he is following also is to do. Then other features of the job which need subjective judgment. So these are the criteria for evaluating the practical job or practical test. And finally, one criteria, very important criteria is time. But for time, there is no separate mark is given. Because suppose if we give 100 marks for one practical exercise or practical test, and from the 100 marks, he has to give some weightage for the time also. Not separate mark, he need not give, but only under this 100 marks only he has to give some weightage. Now we have discussed how to evaluate the practical or performance test with 3 criteria and also time. For your reference, one model practical test question paper and evaluation method is given in this test book. Now we will see Krikpatrick evaluation model. This Krikpatrick 4-level training evaluation model helps the trainers to measure the effectiveness of their training in objective way. This model was originally created by Donald Krikpatrick in 1959 and he has gone through several updates and revisions. Now the model was updated in 1975 and then again in 1993. He has created with 4 levels or 4 models for this evaluation. They are reaction, learning, behavior and result. One by one we will discuss. First level 1 is reaction. This level measures how your trainees reacted to the training. It's important to measure the reaction because it helps you understand how well the training was received by your trainees and how it has improved. It measures your trainees how much they have learned from their learning, how they reacted. Further training for trainees include identifying important areas or topics that are missing from training. Next, level 2 is learning level. Under this level, you should assess our trainees by knowing how much has their knowledge they have increased as a result of the training. It is important to assess what your trainees are learning and what they are not knowing, and it will help you to improve future training. Under this learning level, the trainer or teacher can assess the trainees or students by knowing how much has their knowledge they have increased as a result. Suppose previous knowledge and now how much knowledge they increased from this level, they can identify. According to this, he can improve from the trainee's learning level. Then third level is behavior. He can evaluate how far your trainees have changed their behavior based on the training they received. How trainees apply the information. How much behavior is changed from the previous to present. Some information we can give for the behavior. Current job description, specific task or competencies, standards of performance, performance targets, categories of knowledge, that is principles, concept, facts, procedure, etc. Categories of skills, manual, interpersonal, keyboard problem solving, etc. Then indicators attitude. So in the behavior level, trainer can evaluate the trainee's behavior knowledge, changing of behavior. Then last level is impact level, or we can say it is a result level. At this level, trainer can analyze the final result of the training. This includes outcomes that your organization have determined to be good for the employees or good for the employers or good for bottom line. Organization is a good, it is having good name, whether the name, good name is sustained or retained with the training. So it is determined whether it is a good for the employees and employer and bottom level also. These are the 4 levels of Krikpatrick model. In the learning process, these models can be followed. Then only we can get good learning process. I hope you have understood about this lesson. Thank you. We will meet in next class.